JLF's Brave New World welcomes you back to the second session of the day. Those of you missed our earlier session, Shobha Day, Lockdown Liaisons in conversation with Anandita Day, and all our other speakers, including Oran Pamuk, Chumpa Lahiri, Professor Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo, Venki Ramakrishnan, Barkha Dutt, Neil Ferguson, Dr. Amrish Sathwik, Dr. Siddharth Mukherjee, and so many others. You can catch them on our Facebook page, JLF Lit Fest, or on our YouTube channel, Jaipur Lit Fest JLF. Our official radio partners is Red FM, Bajate Raho. Our next session is Anubhav Sinha, Article 15. Anubhav Sinha talks to Vani Tripathi Tikoo of the idiom, metaphor, and language of film, a heart-to-heart conversation on his cinematic career, his convictions, and the future of the cinematic image. Anubhav Sinha is a film director, producer, and writer known for his work in Tumbin, Das, Rawan, and Mulk. In 2019, Sinha produced and directed Article 15 under his production house, Banaras Media Works, with Ayushmann Khurrana in the lead. His latest blockbuster film, which has won rave reviews across the world, is Thappad, which revolves around the shattering of a housewife's seemingly perfect life and released in February 2020. Vani Tripathi Tikoo is the youngest ever member of the Central Board of Film Certification. Her campaigns and outreach programs have focused on encouraging women's participation in politics, as well as issues revolving around education, empowerment, and employment. Please do remember to comment by typing it into the comment section below. In case any of you drop off due to bandwidth issues, you can find us on our YouTube channel, Jaipur Lit Fest JLF. And of course, if we drop off, just hang in there. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, Anubhav Sinha, Article 15.
Hello, friends, and it's a great opportunity to talk to my friend and somebody whose career I have followed for many decades, Anubhav Sinha. Hi, Anubhav.
Hi, Vani. Many decades.
Many decades, yeah. For whatever little life I've had, it almost seems like many decades with you and around you,
Yeah.
right? I was
Yeah.
this little nubile 19 something year old who walked into this one office in Yari Road many, many moons ago. And I was at the cusp of signing this film with Bhatt and Pooja called Dushman, which was full of people from the National School of Drama. It was my first film, and I came to see you. Um, and our close friend Atul Tiwari had actually introduced me to you, and I walked into this office, and that was many moons ago. Remember those days, Anubhav?
Yes, I do. This must be like what, 94,
No,
93,
98,
94,
90, end of 98.
90, end of 98.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I was still doing music videos then.
yes. And this young boy from Banaras landed in the Maya Nagari of Mumbai, became a hotshot music video director, and the rest of the journey, of course, we'll encapsulate through the course of this conversation. Let's start between this journey, which started from Banaras to the Maya Nagari of Mumbai.
Ah, so I'll put it very quickly. It's a pretty long journey. It spans like 8 years. Uh, like those days, like any father, my father wanted me to be either an engineer or a doctor, and I hated blood, so I became an engineer. And then I went to Aligarh Muslim University, studied there my engineering, mechanical engineering, and that's when probably I had finished fulfilling my father's wish of becoming an engineer. And the next obvious step was to be working. And then I started working in Delhi as an engineer. And within a year, I figured that this isn't what I want to do in life. And one day I just quit. This was 89 end. And until then, there was no idea that one could be a film director. There was no idea that that was a career option for me. And then I started looking for what I want to do. And I just, sure, as luck would have it, I got to work on a documentary as an assistant and just about a runner. And this was late 89, sorry, late mid 90s and mid 90s. And that's where I could figure out that this is what I wanted to do with my life, make movies. And December 4th, 1990, I came to Bombay. And ever since, Bombay has been very kind. I've worked very hard. When I came to Bombay, there was just one phone number I had of Viru Bhai, Viren Saxena. I stayed with him for a few months, and then I moved on. And then I've been out there all by myself with a small little sword in my hand, and that sword was all about my hard work and my desire to succeed. And I've fallen too many times, have died too many times. I've been written off too many times, uh, but I've been at it. Yeah. So this is the long and short of it.
So Nietzsche very famously had said that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So
Yeah.
Mumbai and the film industry didn't kill you, it made you stronger. And I have this one word. I speak a lot with our common friend Sudhir Mishra about you because we all, sort of, speak to each other often. And I say that, Anubhav should have an acronym attached to his name. It should be Bravado. So was it the sort of bravado, the sort of that brave man with his bravado that kept you going and
You know,
kept
bravado is
kept
a matter
pushing
of
you somewhere?
hindsight. At that point, at that moment, you don't know brave or not. You know that you need to do this, and you need to do it so badly that what you end up doing is bravado in hindsight. So when I look back, quitting my engineering job, bravado. I wouldn't do it today. I wouldn't let my son do it. Maybe I will. But yeah, it's description in hindsight. It is not when you're doing it.
So
So
from music videos, and I remember this one song. I was still, getting out of college, and अब मुझे रात दिन तुम्हारा ही ख्याल है. Wasn't this the video that you directed, and Sonu Nigam became a rage after this one song, and uh, and you became the most coveted
yes,
music director of that time. Those were the times we used to have music videos and singles, and the music industry was just becoming a big bubble, launching musicians, launching singers. There were models who were aspiring to be in these music videos and so on. What was that time like?
those were great times for music, and I was this great music buff. I come from Banaras, and I used to go buy milk in a lane where Pandit Samta Prasad, Pandit Krishan Maharaj, Lachu Maharaj, all of
Akshay
them
Maharaj.
came from that lane. So when I would go in the morning to buy milk, uh, and I mean morning 5:30, they would all be rehearsing and practicing, and that is the sound of God that I would get drenched in every single morning. So my love for music, and then I got this opportunity to. I wanted to shoot music videos because I knew making movies would take me a little time. Because those days there were not many, like there was not much satellite TV, there was not OTT, there were only movies, which was a very expensive medium. So people used to take long to make films. So I wanted to do music videos, but I was blessed when God decided for me to come to Bombay. He had plans. He knew that he was going to send satellite TV to India. So 92, 93, he set up CNN here, and then he sent Z and Sony and blah and blah. So by the time I was getting independent, God was busy setting up these platforms for me. And by the time I got tired of this, he was setting up this music world for me, which started with Sonu Nigam's first song that I did with him was him and Bipasha featuring him. That was Bipasha's first ever appearance on screen, called "Tu." Tu kab ye janegi, that song.
Hmm.
And I hated that video once I finished it and delivered it, and I thought, I had really messed it up. But something happened with that video. It was all God's design. People loved it. They laughed it up. And Sonu was a big star even before that. But Sonu was this guy who would touch everybody's feet on Saregama, and this good boy. And I made him smoke in this video. So there was this, paradigm shift for him. And then this, journey started with music videos where on every countdown out of 10, I used to have 5 to 8 songs. 5 to 8 videos were by me. So I had become it had become obscene, pretty obscene, and I was embarrassed. But I was loving it. I was enjoying it. So I shot anybody who sang during that time, except say Alicia Chinoy, and maybe just a couple more. Everybody else I shot with.
And from that, being the kingpin of music videos and the music industry right under your belt and all singers and models, you again take another jump and you make a television serial which has a woman naval officer as a protagonist. And
Yeah,
that becomes another kind of a, first of its kind. And that is not the Anubhav Sinha we knew with Ab Mujhe Raat Din Tumhara Hi Khayal Hai.
no.
Was that?
Seahawks. You're talking about Seahawks was
Yeah,
right before the music videos. Seahawks
right.
is 95 to 98,
Hmm.
which had Om Puri in it and Madhavan in it. Madhavan had become this rage, and then there was this Nikki Aneja who had just done a film with Anil Kapoor. It was a big show.
Hmm.
It was such a big show. I was dealing with ships and helicopters, and it was so big that I had done 50 flying hours on helicopter making that show. So, pretty much about to get the flying license. No, that's a joke. So I did that. That was quite path breaking. It was too big, like a movie. It was a big action movie, and it was on top of the charts. It used to be number one for like 35, 40 odd weeks in a row. And those days, TRPs used to be like in the 40s, in the 35, 36, 42 range. So people who tell me about TRPs today, I look at them with scorn. What? 4, 3? I've seen 42. So that happened, and then music videos happened, and then one early morning, 3:30, I was shooting a video for Bhushan when Bhushan called me from Delhi, and he said, "How about making a movie?" And that's how Tumbin happened.
And Tumbin becomes a hallmark in your career at that time because it's a love story. It's got brilliant music. Such a big music, company produces it, and then you go on and you don't do a Tumbin 2, you do something else. Now, what was happening here? Because these are large jumps, as far as narrative, content. We are a formula based industry. It's always a flavor of the month, flavor of the year, whatever works once with the director, then the person gets signed, very much like actors for 1, 2, 3, and many, many replicas of the same. But you went ahead and you did something else.
I got bored of that mush. So I quit music videos because when I quit music videos, I was on top of the game. I could have made a lot more money. But I have reached a stage where I would take a signing amount to go to a meeting with big music labels. I had acquired that status as a music video director. But I quit because it had become all about the way women walked and the way women smiled. Punjabi pop was exploding, but they were all making the same songs. So I got bored. So I did this film, and Tumbin had 13 songs, or probably 12, all blockbusters. And it was, I got, so after Tumbin, I tried to do an encore. I tried to make another film with the same actor and another actress, which flopped miserably. And the first lesson that I learned was that you don't plan an encore. An encore happens on its own. Then I moved on from that failure, and God was just walking right ahead of me. He gave me. So by the time all this was happening, Sanjay Dutt was somewhere watching Seahawks, and he was watching my shows, and he saw Tumbin, and somebody introduced us. Mahesh Manjrekar introduced us, and we thought of doing an action film. And I was at that point writing thus. So Sanju was on board as soon as I said I want to do an action film. So I had done action before in Seahawks, so that was not too much of a departure. But that cool, that swag of a film where cars would blow up. I mean, I did that in 2004 and 5, much before many people did it. And so I did that. Then again, I got into an encore. Lesson learned with आपको पहले भी कहीं देखा है, my second film, but I still did it. I went and did Cash, and Cash went through several disasters, several organizational and producing disasters. I remember Mr. Manmohan Shetty saw the first ever show, and he called me and he said, had we allowed you to make it properly, this was a blockbuster. But if we release it like this is a disaster. And he's a wise man. It turned out to be a disaster. Uh, so, yeah. And when nobody was touching me, like I told you, God was right ahead of me. He was telling Shah Rukh Khan to do a superhero film with me.
Yeah, so one day the industry woke up to this headline from Mush music videos to an action film, and here you were doing Shah Rukh Khan. You're working with Shah Rukh Khan in what was called India's first sci-fi film called Ra One, and the whole industry woke up and said, "Anubhav Sinha, really?" And within that really came so many exclamation marks and so many question marks and so many dot dot dots. And then what happened with Ravan?
I lost control of the film. The film became much bigger than me. I was too enamored by Shah Rukh. I still am. And he's such a charmer.
He's so lovable,
And
really. I mean,
yeah, and it was. I was slowly losing control over the film for innumerable reasons. Besides the fact that I was enamored by him, besides the fact that I thought everything he said was the gospel truth, there were many other reasons, which is probably a book that I will never write. So yeah, so I had to be, and I don't mean this in a misogynistic manner, but I had to be a man and stand up and own the film up because my name was there as the director of the film, and so yeah, I owned up everything, and I still do. It was my failure. It was my folly. I made a bad film, and so whatever happened happened. For 2 years, I was untouchable. Nobody would answer my phone. Nobody would conceive a 50 lakh project with me. Uh, if, excuse my French, but people were bitching about me at every coffee shop. By then, there were a lot of baristas and Starbucks and Cafe Coffee Days and every place. And each one of those, somebody was bitching about me, and I was dead. So after Cash, I was dead. After Ravan, I was dead again. But I don't die.
so yes, so that sword that you speak of and bravado that I call it, and then that is that sheer sense of bravado. One, this glaring honesty, very seldom, and we all belong to the industry. Does a director ever say that I had to accept the failure and I lost control on the film? I mean, really, Anubhav, in so many decades, I've never heard that. Forget a director. I mean, even somebody who's even a production designer ever say that I owned up to my failures, and I knew that I'd lost control of what I was. But that's what you are, and that is what defines
And
you.
I don't say
That
this.
glaring truth
I
and
don't say
that
this
glaring
now when I have
honesty.
recovered. I don't say this now when I've recovered and I'm standing on my own feet. I have always maintained that Ravan was, I betrayed Shahrukh as a director. Somebody who posed so much faith in me, so much resources. I betrayed him as a filmmaker.
I'm sure Shahrukh, if he's listening to this or if he listens to this sooner or later, would surely have much more respect for you than he ever has, because I know he does. But now let's come to this hat trick. You vanish. You vanish from the face of the earth. Everybody is talking ill about you, according to you. I don't believe in it, but still.
No,
And
no,
you
that's
vanish,
true.
and you vanish, Anubhav. And people actually were saying, "Where's Anubhav Sinha?" And in the middle of this, I remember that you also produced a film called Gulab Gang, which you didn't direct, and it was also a path-breaking film in so many ways, about a women famous, gang which actually would take law into its own hand, because this was the way they could. This is the only way they could think that injustice could be, countered. And then comes, as I say, the three apostle truths of our country, and the three apostle truths of what the Constitution says to us as citizens. The first one being Mulk, and we all have just lost Chintu ji, and great memories of him, I'm sure you have. I will take all three at the same time because I really want you to go threadbare into what is this new craft you've created for yourself. It's absolutely like you have reinvented yourself from the ashes. You've just come up from being what you were with your past work, which you don't feel very happy about it today. Mulk, Article 15, absolutely entrenched at that very thought, what we counter each day and feel ashamed of, caste. And of course, your latest hit, one of the films that I feel so proud of, because at some point you attached that value of that film to me and told me about the film before you even started, Thappad, which is on gender and women. What the hell happened here, Anubha? These three are the most dense, the most gruesome, and yet the most glaring truths that we are faced with each day in this country. Go on.
I think, it's this, I can intellectualize it, but that probably is not the reason. Uh, I made Mulk because I felt very passionately about that subject matter. I felt I was seeing my country being ripped into two pieces, and I needed to say this. I needed to intervene. I needed to disrupt that narrative. And suddenly, because of that sheer obsession and passion about that subject matter, a story happened, and then suddenly I forgot every formula that I had learned over the past so many years. That there has to be a hero and there has to be a heroine and there have to be five songs and blah and blah and blah. And suddenly I was going ahead and making a film with Tapsi Pannu and Rishi Kapoor in the lead. And this is exactly what Rishi Kapoor reflected when I told him about the story. He said, "Who's the hero? And who will come and watch the film?" I said, "I don't know. You are the hero. The script's the hero. Tapsi is the hero. I am the hero. They'll come watch it. If they don't, too bad for them. It's a film that we must make." And I still did not know that I was driven by conviction until I made the film and I released it. Until I started showing it to people, and then until I started getting those hugs from people. I showed it to my colleagues, my contemporaries, and friends, and the first time I enjoyed the process of making a film, the result of making a film. When I read the reviews, there were reviews which sounded like they were sitting with me when I was writing it. So they knew the intent of every moment and every scene in the film, which was just like I got a massive high out of that. And that is when, again, with the benefit of hindsight, I figured that it was the voice that the film had, that the film was trying to say something that connected with people. And that voice came from inside my heart. And that point onwards, I decided my movies will only be about what I strongly feel about. It'll have a voice and it will reach. And like a few days before back, I had decided, I have decided that I'll make another superhero film because I want to tell myself that I can make a good superhero film. And this is something that a point that I'll prove to myself and to Shlok, my son, and to Aryan. These are the two kids who are looking forward to that film so much. Shlok is my son, and Aryan was obviously Shah Rukh's son. So it'll be too late for them, but I need to redeem myself of that. So I don't know when, 15 years, 10 years, 20 years later, I will. So now everything that I do is driven by madness. It's driven by anger. And I'm
But
very angry with myself for having made a
artic-
bad film out of Ravan.
Article 15, despite the fact that it could have been a very angry film, was not angry. It was inquiring. It went deeper into those structures that we have created around us, which have ingrained caste to an extent amongst us, that you scratch the surface and you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And as you go deeper, the stink is higher and the cesspool is furthermore deep.
But films taking birth out of anger don't have to be angry in nature every time. But I'm trying to deal with the genesis of my anger. What is it that's making me angry? So this entire system and this entire normalization of it is what made me angry. And I, as a filmmaker, want you to go through the same experience that I am going through, that I am party to it. And this is a system that we have to question and we have to demolish, destroy someday. And so it takes birth out of anger, but I know what you're saying. It's not angry. It's just placing things on the table before you. And of a lot of those things are mirrors where you see yourself, and right next to it is a question, and then there is another mirror, and you see your own complicity, you see your own role in creating the most inhuman caste system existing on the planet.
And Thappad is unique because remember when you just narrated the first draft of the script and you told me about the subject matter, I actually asked you, but everybody's going to ask you this question. Just one Thappad. Just one Thappad led to this. But you were not afraid of this, and you said this is the most empowering line of the film, that it is a Thappad and it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, because a thappad is an act, but behind that act is an entire process of feeling entitled. And I wanted to question that. I have seen so much of that around myself. And so many women, and thankfully not in my family, not in my own house, because I though I dedicated the film to my mom, I think I should have dedicated it to my father, because he was that man. Through him, I must have inherited this feeling of respect for women, that I have never seen him getting even rough with her, even verbally rough with her. I've seen him walk out of the room, or walk out of an argument. The worst that I've seen is probably him leaving a dining table with his plate still there. That's the worst that I've seen. And so it must have come from him. But I was seeing around me a lot of women uh, being treated as the third class citizen of the family. Their careers were not important, their lives were not important. Uh, Nothing about them was important. And it doesn't work like that. It shouldn't work like that. It can't work like that. And I, as a filmmaker who's so privileged to be in a position where I can probably ignite a conversation, I must play a part. And I did that. And I knew all this while everybody was telling me, okay, just a slap. And I didn't want to go to court, because the moment it goes to court, the decisions would be taken by third parties. I wanted the decisions to be taken by the two genders. So I didn't want to go to court. And another reason that, Tapsi was there in court in Mulk, and it'll be, so boring. But more than that, I wanted people to take that decision, not law. And so, yeah, me and Vinmay just went hammers and tongs with the plot and uh, ideas and ideas and ideas. And I think the big gold idea was several stories, which also allowed us to sort of deal with the different stratas of our society. So there is this house help, and there is this single mother, and then there is this. So all kinds of people,
Beautiful.
mother-in-laws,
They're
mother-in-laws.
like beautiful parallel narratives which actually entwine into a thought process, and yet they are independent stories. Which brings me to an idea. After seeing these three films, one after another, you are also increasingly writing your own stuff. Is it that there is a paucity of writers, good screenplay writers in the industry, or you think, because I now know that there is a tribe which works on with writer rooms and which works with writers which are outsourced, but then there are directors like you which are rare still in the industry who write their own stuff, who want that core of that film, to come out of their own womb. What is it that is propelling you to increasingly start writing your own work?
I think I've been writing all the time, starting with Tumbin, before that Seahawks, before that Shikast, my first TV show, thus everything. The only time where I probably did some dialogue, maybe not all, some. I was just a part of the screenplay team was in Ravan, but I have always written my stuff. And I have come to realize that I'm happy to collaborate with other writers, and which I have done in Article 15 and Thappad both. But I can't not be writing at all, and I'm not that writer director who instructs his writers and the writers write. No, I sit down with my co-writers, and I'm one of the two, and I type and I write, and especially the final draft which goes to floor, which is more about the description of the scene, that I need to personalize as a director. So that takes a lot of my time, but I think that's a very entitling term. But there are auteurs in French cinema, which authors. I'm not that, but I'm that director who needs to write, and
And
I
your
get
love
along
for
with.
and your love for languages. I mean, I also have some audience questions coming, which I will take. But I know that you have tremendous love for Hindi and Urdu.
Yeah,
And
and
again,
English.
there are very few, and English, of course, but there are very
Someday
few
I'll learn it.
writers, there are very few directors who know Hindi writers, say a Bhagwati Charan Verma, and say a Sri Lal Shukla or a Ramchandra Shukla. And I've seen all of these there in your home, in your office, and you read them constantly. What is it? What is it that directors and people who are storytellers today don't attach that much importance to literature of our land, literature of our times, and also that literature which has been which has been ideal to so many generations before, and even the ones which are due to come.
Uh, the 90s was not the best writing time for Bollywood. A bit of 80s and 90s. So there were great films like Govindji was making films, and Ketan was making films, and Sudhir Mishra was making films, Kundan was making films. But I'm talking about the real mainstream. And somewhere there, and before that, Raji, Gurudat, these people had great writers sitting with them. There was Mulk Raj Anand sitting and writing, and then there was Khwaja Ahmad Abbas writing, and there was Abrar Alvi writing. There's all kinds of
Ali Sardar
writers.
Jafri.
हाँ,
Yeah.
so हम लोग उसके बाद ना जो the place for the people from literature somehow got diluted. Even the lyrics writing used to come from some seriously high-end poets, Hindi or Urdu. And I mean, even songs that might look frivolous and just romantic, like Majnun Saab was an old man, was a poet, was an esteemed Urdu poet, but he wrote some really childlike songs. So even those songs were being written by really wonderful people. That needs to change a bit. We need to. I mean, I do my best to connect with writers who, and we have also lost that sense of writing. So I meet a lot of writers who say, "Sir, I have an idea. If you tell me, I'll write the script." And to my understanding, a writer is someone who can't live without writing. So you can't have an idea. You have to have a script or a book, whatever you want to write. You can't wait for Anubhav Sinha or Sudhir Mishra to say, "Yeah, this is a good idea, write it." You should write it nevertheless. You should be dying to write it, even if I say it's a bad idea. You should write it well and prove it to me that I was wrong. That has been missing for some time. I should agree with you.
But
And
but 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 wasn't literature and music two things which were hallmark of Hindi cinema for decades? Coming to music also, because you started your career with music, the journey of music, melody and rhythm and so on. I mean, what is the music scene like today? I mean, I don't even remember anything hummable, anything that I heard yesterday. I don't even remember it today. Why is it? Is it my mind space which is too cluttered, or it's a decimated scene as far as creating good music and using good lyrics is concerned?
I think past 10 to 15 years are the worst times, 10 for sure, 8 to 10 years, worst times for Bollywood music, the film music. So, Bollywood film music used to be a hallmark of even the story. So in the earlier days, if a song was not a plot point, it was actually taking the emotion forward. And slowly getting into the 80s and the 90s, those songs became just a number that, you had to have 5 to 6 songs. And I remember in the 90s, there is this whole phase of a lot of directors who wouldn't go to their song shoots because they thought it was not a part of their film. It had to be there because it had to be there. And that has worsened. And that has reached a stage where now actors call the music label and they say, "Let's do a song like that." And the music label responds to it. And a lot of times the director is not in the loop. He just gets the song. Whereas, film music and non-film music are two different worlds. The songs of film music were not designed to become hit songs. They were designed to play a part in the story. And because the story was great, and because the situation was great, and also the music was great, the song would become huge hits. But now there is this strange contradiction of wanting to have, and I've been a part of it myself, so I don't absolve me. It reached a point where we wanted the music to be a hit for the film to open well. We stopped trusting our audience. We thought they will come to watch the songs and maybe they will like the film. And a lot of time the audience did behave like that. They came to just see the song. So Cash, my film, opened very, very big. But when they reached the theaters on Friday, they figured it was not a good film. So by Monday, the movie crashed. The songs are still a big hit.
But the songs are there. So there's a
Yeah.
question that I have. I also want to give little chance to Ramakrishna ji saying hey, happy belated birthday to you. And he
Thank
says
you.
that in Article 15, Ayushman Khurrana goes into a whole sea of leeches. What
Hmm.
was it that you were trying to connotate, by, that particular image?
You have to go through it. All of us need to get there. It was also very Gandhian thought that we have to do it ourselves. We have to get down there. We have to be equal with them outside of it and inside of it. This whole process of us and them, and subliminally, inadvertently participating in that otherization of a large segment of the population, that I needed to question.
I have one more question, which is very interesting. When you look back today, because you are speaking of looking back, through the course of the conversation, which project do you feel that you've learned from the most?
Ravan. I've
Interesting.
learned the most from Ravan, because the biggest thing that I learned from Ravan is keeping in control of, without being a dictator, knowing exactly the film that you were trying to make. So I was making this superhero film where I also wanted to have this South Indian goofy character who would have noodles and curd. And then there is this South Indian fight in the film suddenly out of nowhere because Dabang became a hit. So I wanted to have a fight sequence like that. And mistakes like those, wanting to, you know, like Thappad. It was all about one slap, husband hitting his wife for the first time. That's the movie.
So the next question is exactly on Thappad. The question is very interesting that Thappad deals with small patriarchy that we tend to overlook every day. How do you actually look at it and how do you deal with it?
I'm I'm looking at myself every day. I'm looking at people around me every day. And the good news is, the best news that came to me out of Thappad was, as many women called me to thank me and congratulate me and whatnot for making a film. I got calls from as many men. So right at the premiere, I see this director friend of mine walk into me and he gives me half a hug and he wants to go past me. And I said, hello, I thought maybe he didn't like the film. And he was, his eyes were sort of moist and he said, no, I need to go home and I need to say sorry to her for something. No, that was a big success. I did not make that movie for women. I made it for men. And
Fantastic.
I've had men call me and cry like babies. You remember that Delhi screening, that gentleman who just broke down asking us a question? That happened a lot, and that I embrace with a lot of pride.
But very
Men reacting to
interesting
the film.
question, which is about impact. You have spoken a lot about influence in the course of the conversation. Somebody's just asked that do Banaras and Aligarh both have an influence on your filmmaking?
I always maintain I am made up of three things. Of course, besides my parents and family, I'm made up of Banaras and Aligarh and my friends. These are three ingredients that make me who I am. There is so much Aligarh in me. There is so much Banaras in me. I uh, I can't believe myself. I didn't knew Banaras as well when I lived there. I didn't love Banaras as much when I lived in Kabir Chora as I do now, because I know more about Banaras now as a kid then. And you don't realize your privileges unless you lost them, right? So now I've lost the privilege of being in Banaras and I miss it.
One thing, Anubhav, which is very interesting is because these subjects that you've picked up definitely require tremendous research. And that's also one of the questions one of our esteemed audience has asked. What is the kind of research that you do before you start a project or before you start writing it? It's not easy
Uh-huh.
to look at just caste or look at communalism or look at gender and just start writing it, because when you see the narrative of your films, there are deeper layers and deeper contexts to what is being said.
the only film I really needed to research on was Article 15,
Article.
not Thappar and not Mulk. Mulk I knew inside out. I had lived it. I had lived in Banaras, which was a Hindu majority place. I mean, at least I was a part of a majority. And then I lived in Aligarh for 6 years, where I was minority. And I thought I was going to Pakistan. And for a long time, I did feel I was in Pakistan because there were only Muslims around me. And then I made friends, and then I met human beings, and then I met Indians. And I said, oh, these are the same people. And then I became fearless, and I loved them. I love them till date. Article 15 was something which I didn't know at all. I have never lived in a village. I have never been discriminated against. So I don't know that feeling. I can read about it, but I don't know the feeling. And so I read a lot. I watched a lot of documentaries. I met a lot of people. So when I used to go to the recce, I would just hang with them. I would just sit with them, and I would talk to them. And there were situations when I was asking somebody I wanted to talk to sit next to me, and the person would just not sit next to me. And everybody else standing there looking at this Bollywood director telling a lower caste person to sit next to him, they were giggling. And this man would not sit down. And I said, no, please sit down. I won't talk to you otherwise. And he didn't. And those were so terribly disturbing moments that I went through. One book that really moved me a lot and educated me a lot was Jutan. I read Mr. Anand Teltumbre's book, Republic of Caste. I read a lot of stuff from Gandhi about this, from Ambedkar on this. So most of it was acquired knowledge through reading, but I did research a lot on Article 15.
Anubhav, there is one question that has been bothering me for the past few days, and you also know that a young star of our country who we all loved tremendously, loved his work, loved him as a human being, lost his life. And there is a lot of conversation which is going on in the industry about this insider, outsider, outsider, insider bit. You are absolutely an outsider who made it. What is the underlying message in the loss of this young life, Sushant Singh Rajput?
I mean, obviously, it's terribly tragic, and people who don't understand mental health will obviously be surprised that this guy was successful, young, doing very well, and poised to do better. Why should he just choose to live through 8 minutes or 7 minutes of his life where he would tie a rope in the ceiling and he would hang himself and he would jump off a stool or whatever he must have been standing on? Those are terrible 8 minutes or 7 minutes of somebody's life. And you hope, if you were watching it, you hope that he would snap out of that trance, if you may. So there must be a lot that he must be going through, and unfortunately, he didn't write anything for us to know why he did that. So it will always remain a mystery. But what's going on in the aftermath of that is a farce. Uh, and Certainly there is this crowd of a whole lot of people who have become the uh, advocates of all outsiders, and they don't understand what outsider means and what insider means. They have nothing to do with the industry. Suddenly they have the right to question people who have only helped and worked with outsiders. And that's this new culture of the troll brigade that you will obviously, you and I have had this conversation, that who funds them and where they come from, and you and I tend to not agree on that. And but it's happening. So suddenly the industry is being seen in a light. Everybody's after Karan Johar, and they don't. They very conveniently forget that Karan Johar has also launched a guy called Siddharth Malhotra. who's from Delhi and who doesn't come from any family. And Siddharth Malhotra is a star because Karan Johar has kept on backing him as a star. And I'm sure there's many more names. But suddenly there's this narrative. It's about Ekta Kapoor. It's about Karan Johar and nepotism. I don't know what the meaning of nepotism is. So tomorrow, I am an outsider. My son is growing up. What if he wants to be in the film industry? Is that nepotism? If I hire my brother as my business manager, is that nepotism? I don't get it. So we are certainly today. This sorry, you have hit the wrong button. Certainly today,
Have
it
I?
was all it was all about Nirmal Pandey. Nirmal Pandey was a personal friend. I've shared bread with him. How dare you talk to me about Nirmal Pandey? I have We have shared 15, 20 rupiah with each other.
He was at senior in drama school. Spent so much
Yeah,
time with Nirmal,
he was
my
my
super
friend.
senior.
He was Sudhir Mishra's protege or Shekhar Kapoor's protege. What are we talking about? And similarly, I'm sure, uh, they're both humans. I'm sure I know every human is fallible. People make mistakes. And suddenly, there is this concerted effort to make the industry look like this dirty place, like there is, it's too holy. The rest of the world is too holy for the
So,
film industry.
Anubhav, uh, for your bravery, for your bravado, for your dissent, for your opinion, more power to you. And for your love of Urdu language, before I end, of course, I thank you. I thank JLF. I am reminded of Ghalib Saab and this just one line of this couplet, which I think is so pertinent in whatever we've said today and whatever you stand for. वफादारी बशर्ते उस्तिकारी अस्ल ईमा है वफादारी बशर्ते उस्तिवारी अस्ल ईमा है मरे बुतखाने में तो काबे में गाड़ो बिरामन को.
क्या बात?
Thank you
क्या
so
बात?
much, Anubhav. Keep telling stories. You are a great Kathavachak. We are a land of Kathavachaks. And we need more and more Kathaएं, which are about us, about our lives, about our traumas, about our truths, about our dissent, and about that opinion which will be created by creators and not on something which is non creative. Thank you so much. And thank you,
Thank
JLF.
you for having me. Thank you, JLF.
Thank you, Vani Tripathi Tikoo, and thank you, Anubhav Sinha, and absolutely keep telling your truths, and they really shine through. And at this point, as we've said, that's what we need, your story. And what a journey you've had, all the way from acting and what one of our social messaging films.
That's the only time I acted, though.
Yeah, incredible. And now to the other side. But congratulations, and thank you so much for that brilliant
Thank you for
conversation.
having me.
As we know, shit happens around us all the time, and each time you have to pick yourself up in so many different ways and just continue, because that's what you've set your soul and heart to do. And thank you all for watching. And sorry we couldn't take all the questions as usual. And we thank our official radio partner, Red FM Bajate Raho. Please do remember to log in next Friday, the 26th of June, for another set of great sessions at the new timing. So the first session is A Burning, Writing and Resistance. Megha Majmudar in conversation with Mansi Subramaniam. Megha Majmudar's dazzling debut novel, A Burning, examines the aspirations, heartbreaks, and tragedies of three tangled lives in present-day Kolkata. She speaks with editor Mansi Subramanian about her book, literary fiction, and the craft of writing. This will be at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 2:30 p.m. British Summer Time, and 9:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The second session on the 26th of June, and remember, we've now moved to Fridays, so 26th of June. On Friday will be Chinese Whispers. Ambassador Gautam Bambabre and Suhasini Haidar in conversation. Former Indian ambassador to China, Gautam Bambabale, and national editor and diplomatic affairs, editor of The Hindu, Suhasini Haidar speaks of India China equations in terms of history and geopolitics, and examines the changing posture and calibrated aggression of the Chinese dream. And this will be at 8:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 4 p.m. British Summer Time, and 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. See you on Friday. Stay safe, stay well.